What's good, family? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green.
Chill,
I am
chill.
Harrison Sanford. You already know the vibes. If you are listening to us using the Audacy app or any podcast app, make sure you find us on YouTube as well. And if you are on YouTube, well, use the podcast app, particularly the Audacy app, and check in with us. We are indeed everywhere. With that being said, Danny, there's actually
Mhm.
somebody who's going into relative hiding. One, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj is
Hmm.
retiring from the NBA beat reporting game. I would love to pull back the curtain a little bit on what it took to be Adrian Wojnarowski. We'll do that in a
Man,
moment. But your reaction to the news, it feels like the end of an era.
for sure. I mean, I think anybody that's not on the inside is a shock. It's a shock to me. It's a shock. I'm in the media, but people that know behind the scenes what's going on, the business side of it, they're not as surprised of why he walked away. But for me, it's like, man. But when you look at it, you look at the lifestyle that you have to live, constantly being on the phone, being available, making connections, keeping connections. It's a lot. It's a lot of wear and tear on the mind. And I'm also sure that there was some other business negotiations that may have not gone the way he would have liked them to. But so yeah, to me, I was shocked. I was like, "What the hell?" And people were saying, the reports were saying he's leaving $20 million on the table, which is even more of like a whoa.
Yeah.
What happened? What's going on here? So, but Woj was great, man. He's been great to me for my whole career. Past couple of years, also been able to work with alongside of him at ESPN. We've had some great interactions and being on a panel. So yeah, I wish him the best. He's going to his alma mater, St. Bonaventure. It looks like. So good for him. Hopefully, this is less taxing on him, less
Oh, for
stressful,
sure.
and more fun for him, and he can still make a good amount of money. But I wish him the best, and I hope things can go the way he plans it to go.
Danny, so when you were doing, let's say, the jump with him or NBA
Hmm.
Today, excuse me, did you start to see just how hard he works? Like, yeah, when you're up
Oh,
there with like Malika Andrews obviously works hard, but her level of working hard is very different
yes.
than what maybe Kendrick Perkins might be or Richard
Hmm.
Jefferson. Woj's the work ethic to be Woj
The
is
workload.
unlike any other. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unlike any other.
So yes, watching him, man, master at his craft, unbelievable. Shout out to all of them. Malika does an amazing job putting the show together. That's not an easy task, man, and it's very challenging. Shanae, everybody that takes forward Richard Jefferson when he takes over, it's not easy to run a set and to put it together
No,
and be
it's
so
not.
organized. It's a tough deal. Let alone be on a panel and be aware, be available. So Woj, his workload is different, but nonetheless, it's way harder than most people's jobs. The reason why he gets paid the big bucks. 90%, 95% of the world is not doing what this guy is doing to get information, to get it out there. He's pretty much a filter. Trafficking of everything, news. Trying to be a news outlet for sports, all sports, of course basketball, but all sports as well. It's tiring. So him being on the phone in between meetings, even on set, like, oh, I just got a call, I just got a text. This is the update of what's happening. Shout out to Isaac Okoro being the last Woj bomb, getting his deal.
Yeah.
Congrats to him. But yeah, Woj did so many bombs, man, in his career. He's iconic, legendary in his craft, and kind of once it paved the way, but started. I want to say he kind of started that wave of being that type of guy. I don't know if anybody before him was that guy.
No, there definitely was. I think what makes it different is that he was the prominent guy during this social media era. So
Yes.
his reach, and how familiar he became to the NBA public was just so much larger because of things like Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah,
And
I feel like he's like the first of using social media to now everybody's doing it, not just with sports, but with everything, like being an outlet to give news on either
yeah,
Twitter,
he was an
Instagram.
outlet himself.
He's like
Yeah,
the
he was an
first
outlet.
guy, you know what I'm saying, to like be like, oh, he's a news guy. Like everybody follows him. So now everybody who wants to do whether they're doing movies, whether they're doing music, they're trying to be a Woj of that industry. And I feel like he was the main guy that kind of started that trend. So
Yeah, no, he definitely has become a premier reporter in his lane. That is for sure. And you talked about like, oh, he got this call, or or to break this news. Like, I don't think what people understand to get if you want to break, let's just say you want to break news, you want to break a free agency signing in July of 2024. You legitimately had to work on breaking that news maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, and it's no slippage either. Like you make a relationship with an agent and you get an in with the agent because you've made friends with the you made friends or relationships with the front office. You could make relationships with the front office because you might know a player's inner circle. And now you really, and then on throughout the course of gaining all of those relationships, right, Danny? It's not just okay, boom, I know you, you know me, so when I need information, I'm gonna hit you. No, you have to maintain that relationship.
Got to keep in contact. Like, hey, how's things going? He's got to keep in contact with so many people, bro. I can't imagine. So it's tough for most of us to keep in contact with our families. So him to keep in contact with front offices, players, agents, their inner circles. That's a beast. That's a beast of a job, man.
Yeah, and it's not just, oh, okay, he might know Jeannie Buss, or he might know World Wide West. Nah, he might know the people who work under them too. Like, it's not just the big dogs. Like, you have, because you know why? You know how you stay relevant for so long? You don't just know the executives, you know the people who are about to become executives. Like it is a taxing job. So salute to him. It is definitely something that's admirable. And I have a relative of mine who works in the industry on the NFL side, and I see how much work it is. I've gotten to see that in firsthand. It's a lot, and that's exactly why I like doing this. I just like doing the hosting and like leading people into a good sports conversation or doing some sports wagering conversation. To have, it's a 365, 24-hour day job. And so salute to Rose for being like, all right, bro, I done did my thing. They can retire, they can put me up here. They'll put me in the
rafters. That's it. Put me in the rafters. I'm gone.
And that's that. Yeah, man.
But good for him.
But
congrats on a hell of a career. Still not done, but congrats on a hell of a career with that. With ESPN.
Yeah. And so now it will be interesting. It will be interesting though now, Danny, because this now opens the door for. It's crazy. Now you and I talk about free agency a lot as it pertains to players, but now that like you're more keen to the media side as well, now you and I could talk about media free agency. So now maybe we just talk about it because we can now. Like Shams is a power mover now, boy. Like you want to talk about like sitting on the throne? You want to?
He's got big check coming his way, and a lot of people fighting for him. So it's going to be interesting.
With NBC getting the new contract, NBA broadcasting contract, with obviously ESPN and Amazon being in the mix, and you still have other outlets like whether it be The Athletic or whether it be FanDuel or DraftKings or wherever it might be. I love like watching this stuff, but it also creates a lane, Danny, for the next Woj or the next Shams to come into the marketplace. If hey man, I know you got Woj's number, Danny. Tell him to give me all his contacts.
Give you you want to take that job? I'm saying you want that job? That's a job. I don't know if you want. I wouldn't wish that upon many people, man. So
even if Woj gave me his Rolodex, I still would not like take the job. I'm like, no.
That's how I wish upon anybody. It's not a job I wish upon anybody. It's the Doc Rivers statement.
Salute to him for getting all through that. All right. Speaking of end of era, though, Danny, it's interesting as I'm looking at the NBA landscape. There's a lot of guys who are like taking a quick pivot, a lot quicker than maybe we would have anticipated. As I look at the free agency market, you have a number of players who are still out there. Taylor Horton Tucker is still not signed to a team. You look at Markelle Fultz, still not signed to a team. Maybe even more shocking.
Taylor's in Chicago now. He recently just signed, I think it was training camp deal. I think.
So
most guys it's Exhibit 10s or something like that. It's crazy that these guys weren't on roster sooner or getting a guaranteed spot. These guys deserve to be on a roster. And then there's certain guys that are getting big money. You're like, well, if this guy can get big money, this guy can't get a job. Like, this is crazy. And there's a lot of vets out there that Austin Rivers touched on it, Pat Bev's touched on it in their podcast, that are going overseas or just not have a job, not any space in the locker room. And even younger guys that are step away from the game at an early age, man. It's crazy to see guys like AJ Griffin. He's like, what, 20? He's a kid, man. Want to step away from the game. Kyle Guy, younger, they do a year or two overseas. It's a grind, and they're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Even some of my young Carolina guys, I'm talking to them. They're thinking about like hanging it up. I'm like, you guys aren't even 30 yet. What's going on? So it's tough to see, man. The game is shifting in a different, dramatic way, and it's leaving some of us old guys behind, but it's just changing. And some people are concerned that it's going to allow for other countries not only to catch up, but to be better than us because of how diluted our game is becoming.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a cause for concern. I think, too, like, especially in this new NIL era as well. I think there's a chance that the college basketball product gets better. And you get maybe more NBA teams that are not as pressed to get younger talent in the door if they don't fit in. Or you might get more college kids saying to themselves, hey, man, I'm not going to the league anymore unless I could see I'm not going to the league just to get to the league anymore. I'm going to the league if I can get that second max contract now. That could definitely be a repercussion of everything that's going down, because you're seeing the AJ Griffin thing to me was just like, damn, like that's
crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah,
you were starting games at one point in the not too long ago.
He was playing well in Atlanta. Played very well in Atlanta.
Yeah. No, it's a different business now. That is for sure. We'll still be tracking it, but it definitely feels like there's somewhat of a changing of the guard. It has to do with the NIL. It has to do with the new CBA. I think, and all those things are making a weird mix now of how the future of basketball might just look. And Danny, you might be right. Like that 2028 Olympics might look scary for the U.S., boy.
Yeah.
It might look scary for the U.S. I mean, the talent's still going to be the talent, but if the motivation isn't there anymore like it used to be.
Yeah, we're going to be behind the eight ball. We're going to be, looking up at the other teams. Yeah. Whenever we were so far ahead of them, they've definitely caught up. It's a lot closer now. You see, we ain't winning by 20 plus average, game points anymore per game. And some of our best are older and about to be done and retired, especially in 4 years. So it's and some of their better ones are younger and only getting better.
Yeah, and at the same token too, if the CBA is gonna be so punitive that a lot of rosters are not gonna have vets, then you're gonna have a lot of kids who get led astray.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of mistakes happening. A lot on and off the court mistakes. You're gonna be like, well, why is this kid doing this? Why is this happening? Well, you've seen it happen before. We gave you a solution, but they don't care. We understand some money. Everything's a business. It's a money game, and if it costs you more money to do that, we get it. It's like, all right, you're in the cap already. You're over the cap, so you don't want to spend the money. But it may be smart and invest that extra money to keep your locker room sane or to keep it, in good hands. So,
yeah, no, it's gonna be it's gonna be something to watch. That is for sure. I want to get to your 3 burning questions in the NBA in just a moment. But before I do that, I have a recommendation for you, Danny.
Oh yeah,
I watched it yesterday. I watched the first 2 episodes. These people, they always do a fantastic job. I'm talking about the people from FX, American Sports Story, the case of Aaron Hernandez. The
new one. Okay. The new one.
I mean, it's a sad story. It's a sad story because you really his life was sad. Point blank period. But watching it and the way that they've directed it and produced it, you really get to understand why a kid who is so talented at football could turn into a killer. Man, oh man. I don't want to spoil it. I mean, we all know his story, so it's like I'm
And
not
I've
saying
seen a couple of not documentaries, but there was one good one. I think it was a couple of years ago that was released.
like
So
I think it might have been a 30 for 30
yeah, it
on
might have been
ESPN.
something like that.
Yeah,
So
this dramatization of it, like it literally starts with him at Bristol Central High
high
School in Bristol,
school,
Connecticut, and it takes you to when he was at University of Florida under
Florida.
Urban Meyer. It's I thought, it's interesting. A lot of people were getting on Hulu/FX, I guess it is, for Clipped. I thought Clipped was good. I just thought like it's hard when you're casting people when you know exactly how they look. Like you could do a great job, but if you don't look like
Because
Chris Paul, you
they're
don't look like
still
Chris
current.
Paul.
Yeah, and they're still playing.
Yeah.
Now, if it was like 30, 40 years from now, people are like, don't remember how Chris, like the younger kids don't remember how Chris looked. They're like, oh, okay, that could be Chris Paul. That could be Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But when he's still playing and looking at him like, this does not look like Steph Curry or DeAndre Jordan.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
But I thought it was still good though.
I'll check it out. But I got a couple for you, man. Slow Horses is fire.
What is this?
Slow Horses. It's on Hulu. Slow Horses is dope.
All right. Can I get the
Apple
elevator
TV?
pitch?
Sorry, Apple TV. I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a good one. You should watch that. And then of course,
so you think your word is so good that you don't even have to give me a 2-second preview?
You gotta trust this, bro. You gotta trust this. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for decades, brother. So listen, you go in blind, you come out, very surprised. So that one, and then of course there's another one that's really good. It's a very, I wouldn't say Gossip Girl, but it's like a little dramatic, gossipy college type, but it's dope. And it's a little. The next season has got a little bit dramatic, not too crazy, a little bit more than my liking, but still very good. Tell Me Lies. That one I think is on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken.
If it has multiple seasons, then I'll wait till you tell me how the other seasons have gone.
Slow Horses has 4. Tell Me Lies is only 2, and it's only halfway. It started second season, so yeah.
And all 4 seasons of Slow Horses doing their thing.
Bro, it's got a high ranking everywhere. Check it out.
Okay, I'll check it out. I will also say, I went back recently. I started rewatching Breaking Bad. I watched the last 3 seasons. Damn, I forgot how good that show was. So damn good. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. And I recently just started on Peacock. I just started Fight Night. The one.
I heard that was good.
Oh, at least the first 2 episodes I watched. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, the star power is there. Don Cheadle, Samuel Jackson, Kevin Hart, Taraji P. Henson. They're all in there. And even some other names that I'm not remembering at the moment. We're getting back. You know what it is, Danny? You know what it is? And this is the thing about TV that frustrates me. So you ever heard of TV sweeps? You ever heard of sweeps months?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. I think that's so essentially like you take a certain period of time in the calendar, and you put your best programming during that time in the calendar, and you could take your audience numbers and you're able to give that to your sales and marketing department, and they're able to sell commercials based off of those numbers. What happens is, because these TV networks know that people don't watch TV during the summer, they typically don't put out good content during the summer, because they know people are not watching like that. This is usually what you did with broadcast TV. Now it's all different because it's digital, so it's a different world to implement that strategy with. But that's essentially what's going down. Like, now that the fall's coming, I would expect some more good TV shows coming in because it's sweeps time. Like, I think there's 2 different sweeps periods in coming up before the year ends, and another 2 before the summer hits. That's how last time I checked. That's how it went down. But it's interesting times. Oh, with that being said, lastly, talk about TV programming. Damn, Danny, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
And because the WNBA is starting their playoffs this weekend, and they started on a Sunday. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I get it. Like, you want, bruh, Sunday. Like, you don't like. We talked about it before, Danny. Out of the top 100 watch programs in America, 96 of them every year are NFL games. So what? Come on, bro. Y'all
trying to compete with them is a bad idea. Yeah,
come on.
Football. Yeah, we gotta find a way to.
You could have did Tuesday. You could have did Tuesday games. They could have waited because the season ends Thursday, September 19th. They could have said, okay, boom, we'll start the playoffs on Saturday. We'll do Saturday and Tuesday, or just wait, get the weekend over with, and play Tuesday, Wednesday, because it's a 3-game series to start the first round. Starting the series on a damn Sunday is crazy. Is crazy.
We need to get you in that front office. We gotta get you on what's the name, man? On the
what are we doing?
MBPA or something. You know what I'm saying? The players, the W side, bro.
I don't
talk
get
to,
it.
Talk to the commissioner, bro.
You gotta put yourself in a position where you could be the lead on Sports Center. They're not
gotta put yourself in a position to win. You're not putting yourself in a position to win right now.
But all right, we'll get to Danny's 3 burning questions in a moment. It was good talking TV with y'all. Be right back. We're back with Inside the Green Room, Harrison Sanford and Danny Green. You guys already know the vibes. And now we are going to do what we did last week, but this time Danny's turn. 3 burning questions for the NBA season. So Danny, the floor is yours. I guess you got to get to play host here, and I kind of get to play analyst. Break it down. What are your 3 burning questions?
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the league, a lot of changing. Obviously, we discussed. But the biggest things, I think the teams would go and the players and coaches with the most pressure, starting with number 1 for me, Phoenix Suns. As it stands, do you see them staying the same team before trade deadline?
Or
do you think one of the big three will be traded? That's my question. Will one of the big 3 be traded by the deadline?
No, I don't think it happens for a couple of reasons, Danny. Number 1, that Bradley Beal contract is basically seen as untradeable, right? So that's issue number 1. Number 2, I do think there is, and this is no shade on Matt Ishbia, the new owner, but I do think there. If I was to buy a team, Danny, if I was to buy a team, and I went out and I made sure I got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, I don't know if I would have the requisite humility to say, all right, this is not going to work. I think I would say there's a certain nature that I would just have to be like, yo, maybe it isn't going to work, but I still have to see this through, particularly when they brought in a new head coach and Mike Budenholzer.
For sure.
They brought in 2 point guards now. I think Tyus Jones is definitely going to help them.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Marcus, and then Monte Morris coming off the bench as their point guard is definitely going to help them. I worry about them defensively, but Devin Booker showed during the Olympics that if he's asked to play defense, he will play defense. So I think there's a chance that they're a better team. Actually, no, let me say this. They will be a better team this upcoming season. That's without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. I think the issue with that, if they stay healthy, for sure. But I think the problem with that is that the West got way better. Like Oklahoma City got better. Memphis Grizzlies, they're going to be back in the mix. I could go through another round of teams. I think that while the Denver Nuggets necessarily didn't get better, I still don't think the Suns are better than the Nuggets. The Mavericks just went to the NBA Finals. I think the Pelicans, if could stay healthy, could very well. I would make an argument.
They got better. They got DeJounte Murray.
I would easily make the argument the Pelicans are more deep than the Phoenix Suns. So no, I don't think they pick it up because I think if I'm a part of the decision-making process there, I say we did get better. It's just that this conference is so good, and they'll probably say to themselves, just get us in the playoffs, make us a top 6 seed, and maybe we could do something.
You're only seeing one perspective of this, and that's the front office perspective. You don't think one of those players will want to ask out if things are not going the way they want? Yes, of course, front office wants to keep it together, but Devin Booker's been there how long? 8 years, 9 years, and things aren't going that smoothly. KD won't want to make a trade because, he's already asked a couple times, don't want to look bad. But Devin Booker, one of those big 3 guys, Bradley Beal might want to ask out. He might waive his trade and try to find a way. But you don't think one of those guys would ask out?
I don't think Kevin Durant will do it again. It would have to be they would have to have a tragedy of a season for Kevin Durant to do it and probably feel good about it. I think the same thing would apply to Devin Booker. I think when you're that talented, bro, you have to operate with a certain level of self-belief, right? Like you have to operate with a certain level of, just put me in the playoffs. We get the job done. And I think that might cloud some of their, maybe the wiser decision to maybe say, hey, maybe we should break this thing up. I think the one person in the whole thing that makes the difference would be Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal was 2 players as opposed to 1 in terms of like the salary, then maybe they're a better team, even though Bradley Beal himself is a very good player. But for the team structure, they lose so much trying to force him in, as opposed to just focusing on making a more complete team. So maybe Mike Budenholzer brings something out but I can't. I mean, but if you're Bradley Beal, like that's to press the eject button. If you're Bradley Beal, when you're being seen as a problem, is kind of wild to me. But no, I don't see it.
Because I'm the problem because I'm not comfortable. I can't play with these guys. Maybe I'm not comfortable in the system. Like this is not a system fit for me.
Yeah, but who's picking? Okay, so you want out? Where you going? Like that's the other thing. If you're Brad, if you're Brad,
he was in Washington. He can go anywhere. He was in Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like he can go somewhere for some pieces. You know, hopefully. But they might not get as much as they want for him. But he can go somewhere.
If I'm Bradley Beal, I don't want people to think I left an opportunity to win just so I could shine a bit better and lose somewhere else. Like you got to see it. Unfortunately for them, you got to see it through. Now, we did, during the NBA draft, we did see the Houston Rockets make a trade with the Brooklyn Nets to get all of the Phoenix Suns draft picks. So I wouldn't be surprised if that ownership group circles the block on the Suns and says, hey, listen, whenever you're ready to break this thing down, we can help you because we have all of your draft assets. So if you're going to tank, at least you could tank with your draft picks, knowing they're coming your way. So that's always going to be the temptation. And I think it was smart by the Houston Rockets to do it, but it's going to have to be a disaster of the season for it to break down. And I just don't think with Budenholzer there and them finally getting point guards that happens.
Yeah, I'd like to think one of them, maybe not by the deadline, but by the summertime, one of them asks out.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it'll be a big change.
By the summer, it's over.
Yeah. But, all right, moving along for my second question, another team or coach that has a lot of pressure on him, the Milwaukee Bucks. Will Doc Rivers be coaching them by the 2025-2026 season? Will he still be their head coach?
Now, I'm going to take it from the front office standpoint. Well, now, okay, they're not paying Mike Budenholzer anymore because now he's the coach of the Phoenix Suns, but they're still paying Adrian Griffin. To fire Doc Rivers and then have him on the payroll still would just be wild financial decision. I think even if, let's just say Giannis wasn't a believer in Doc Rivers, like if the Milwaukee Bucks do not work, it's not going to be Doc Rivers' fault. I think this roster construction is just poor. I think they don't have a reliable 3-and-D wing player. And the money that they have spent up in Chris Middleton doesn't seem to be the same. And Brook Lopez, even though Brook Lopez has still been very much
very
solid
good.
Player.
They're both very good.
I think
injuries play a part in both of them.
Injuries play a part, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't. If they make a trade to make the roster better, to make the roster more flexible for the future, and it still doesn't work, yes. But I think any like realistic NBA analyst could look at that roster and say it doesn't matter if you have Giannis, it doesn't matter if you have Damian Lillard, even if Damian Lillard is going to play better at a higher level and Giannis is going to be healthy. This team doesn't have anybody who can guard on the perimeter and hit a three at the same time. And your big three, your third and your big three has routinely been in injury situations over the past 2 years or so. So
no Pat Bev, Jay Crowder gone, Joe Ingles gone, Malik Beasley gone. You like those guys. But I said once again, it does not matter if it's somebody takes the blame. It does not matter if it's Doc Rivers' fault or not. We've seen what happened with Frank Vogel in LA. Whether it's Doc Rivers' fault or not, somebody gets blamed, somebody gets fired. So it could not be Doc's fault, and he can still get fired.
I think
they'll make a trade. They'll make another trade.
I think people will point to Middleton. I think if you look at the 2022, when did they win the title, Danny? That was a 2021? 21?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 21.
I think if I'm the ownership group or if I'm just an NBA analyst or whatever it might be, I'd say, what was different from 2021 to 2024 outside of just age? Like, Chris Middleton looked like the second best player on the team and looked like the best offensive player on the court at times during those NBA finals. That's just not who he is anymore. How do they replicate? How do they get that production from that salary slot going forward? I think is the big question. I don't know. But Doc Merrill might be the fall guy. I mean, best believe if they lose a 3-1 playoff series, when lose a series, they're up 3-1.
Since the last deadline, they haven't been that great. So their record since the last deadline wasn't great. The playoff series, they had injuries, it didn't go well. So Doc's record with the Milwaukee Bucks hasn't been great. So if their record is not great for the first half of the season, definitely by the summertime, they will be looking to make a change either in the players with a trade or coaching or front office. I doubt front office. They always look at front office last. But yes, coaching or player change. Sucks. But like Doc said, I wouldn't wish upon anybody. He took that job mid-season and with a lot of pressure on the line with trades and players that he has to put together himself and figure it out. So good luck to you, Doc, man. You're my guy. I hope it goes well. But
and then the Knicks got better. The Sixers got better. People haven't talked about people haven't talked about the Pacers getting better.
Orlando getting better.
Orlando got better. There's no reason to believe that the Cavaliers can't play at a higher level either. That's 5 teams that got better. And I can't say for certainty that the Milwaukee Bucks got better. Yeah, they could be healthier, but I don't know if they necessarily got better.
Well, and for team number 3, man, moving along. Question number 3, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Of course.
Got to talk about them. It's not a show unless we talk about them. What do they look like by the deadline? Obviously, JJ will be head coach by at least, I think, 2 seasons. Do they, as it stands today, their roster, do they make a trade before Christmas?
No, I don't think they can, bro, because I think the Olympics showed us that, like, if you keep them healthy, even though they might not be the best during the regular season, this is actually when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it can work. I think people forget.
You got to surround them with the right people, though.
You got to surround them with the right people. Yeah, but I think people forget, though, how injured they were last year. Like, I know Jared Vanderbilt has his shortcomings as a player, but he was a valuable player when he went to the Western Conference Finals. Like, I know Gabe Vincent has been seen as pretty much as a bench player the entire majority of his career. But he would have been a valuable player coming off of that bench if he was healthy last year too. No, I don't think. I think they frustrate the shit out of Lakers fans throughout the entirety of the regular season, and then they get into the postseason with the feeling that we could beat anybody. I think that's how it plays out. Because I watch them in the Olympics, and you're like, yo, LeBron is still damn elite. Damn, AD is still elite.
Another wear and tear on both their bodies, which may affect them during the regular season. I do like D'Angelo Russell. I like Austin Reeves. I like the pieces they have around them, Vando, all those guys. But if they're not in a good space, and the West has gotten better, as you mentioned, I think they blow it up. I think they blow it up at All-Star break.
Now, I mean, how exactly could you? I mean, you can't trade LeBron, you can't trade AD. So how do you can't blow it up if those 2 guys are still there?
Everybody else, they could blow it up. There's a lot of guys with D'Angelo, D'Lo, Austin, Rui, Vando, Gabe. They have a lot of guys on roster that they can move, and you have a lot of guys that are making decent money on roster. And people have been talking about trading AD. That's going to be a depending on his injury and health. That is a possibility that could happen. I wouldn't do it, but that's a possibility that could happen.
Yeah,
it would be silly.
Man, bruh.
But they might be looking to rebuild. Bron plays with Bronny. This is probably his last year. And now it's like we got to bring in younger. So if we're looking to rebuild, and if AD's hurt and he's getting older, it's like, all right, we got 1 year left with Bronny. We got to get some young guns and rebuilding here. So they might be looking to trade bigger pieces.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, the Lakers would never leave themselves without a star. So there I go. You're right. LeBron would still be. I don't know, man. I can't. I think the fact that they've had it work before will be reinforced in their head. I just don't know. I don't know. Here's a problem, Danny. Here's a problem. You know who almost every team would need, bro?
What's
Every
that?
team would be better if they had an OG Anunoby, a Mikal Bridges. But the problem is, in this marketplace, an OG Anunoby is $40 million.
It's expensive. They're expensive pieces.
That's the real issue with the Lakers. Yeah, like
that's the going rate these days. Back in the day, the 3-and-D guy was a good maybe 10. Now it's 40.
I think that end of the day, that's you. If you don't draft those guys and have them on a rookie scale, you got to go out in free agency and get them. You're probably cooked. Because it's not a sustainable model to have
a 3-and-D guy for $40 million. You need 10 to 15 million back in the day. Yeah. Now it's $40 million. So
like you have to be so well. You have to maneuver the cap so well. Like we talked about it last year. What Brad Stevens did was sorcery.
they're well into the cap though.
Yeah, for sure.
Selling the team.
They got what's needed, but they got it before it got crazy. They got to. But the thing is, here you go, Daddy. This is why it worked. This is why the Celtics worked. This is why the Warriors worked. This is why your San Antonio Spurs team worked, because you drafted your max players. You got to draft your max. Particularly, you almost want to draft your 3-and-D players too. The more you can keep it in-house, like the better it is for your books.
Yep. Memphis.
Yeah. That's why Memphis' future is still bright, because everything, and that's why Oklahoma City's future is still bright, because everything is in the house. Yeah, you start relying on free agency, bro. You're
Minnesota, decent. We'll see how they do.
Yeah,
Dallas,
decent. But even Dallas, decent. Their roster flexibility isn't as great as you would want it to be. When you got those guys in house and you're developing stars that are not on max deals, it's just like the NFL, Danny. The reason why the San Francisco 49ers were so good, the reason why the Cincinnati Bengals were so good, the reason why the original Patrick Mahomes teams were so good, because those dudes was on rookie scales and you had elite talent around them. And Brock Purdy is still on a rookie scale deal, and that's why they could have the George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, because you're not paying the main players anything, the main quarterbacks anything. And so, hey man, if I'm working in the team's draft room, I want a raise, because with this new CBA, my performance as a draft scout now is paramount to the franchise's success.
It's very critical.
For real. And I gotta convince these kids to come out of school when they getting $2 million to play college ball.
Oh yeah, and they don't need to leave. What I need to leave for?
Yeah. That was good stuff. Danny's actually going to be in New York City this weekend, so I guess
we'll be a chance to catch up, get a meal, man. I'll be doing some stuff with the sickle cell kids. Learned a lot about it, so yeah, man, it'll be dope to be at the PA, see some of the homies, catch up with family.
And for sure.
To see what happens in the next coming weeks. You know, big decisions coming for your boy too soon. You know, big decisions.
I get it. Summer's coming to a close, and we're gonna have to celebrate it the right way, one way or another. That's for sure.
For sure.
Last weekend of summer, Danny, people were too antsy to say summer was over already. Once they hit Labor Day, like, oh, summer's over. This weekend, it's over.
We have one more weekend. There's one more.
Yeah.
I feel like officially the 26th weekend, 28th weekend, whatever, is the last weekend.
That's not official though, but that's your unofficial official. It's literally over on Saturday.
Yeah. My unofficial official is when NBA starts. October 1 hits, that's when training
fall.
Camp starts.
That's when it's fall. Okay, fair.
When October starts, that's when it's fall, and that's when training camp starts, and that's when summer's over.
Okay, that's fair. I understand your logic now. Yeah. Even though your logic goes against the actual season calendar.
Yeah, right? We know the 21st, 22nd, all those days of when spring and summer hits and ends and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all know where to catch us, man.
You know the vibes.
Read, rate, subscribe, review.